It is the early 2000s all over again, at least according to Masters of the Universe. That's right, the 2000X series is back, and we've got a first look at it. Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and today we're going to be taking a look at the first wave of Mattel's brand new Masters of the Universe Cartoon Collection 2000X series. And they sent it in this very cool promotional mailer box. So yes, special thanks to Mattel. Product you're seeing in today's video was provided by them for the purposes of this review. This is one of the things Mattel is kind of like, it's wild that they do these big crazy boxes like this. So this promotional box has got this great image of Castle Grayskull on there. It's got the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe logo from the 2000X era, very similar to what we would see in the Mike Young Productions animated series. And if we kind of tilt this down, I want to spin it around because we got some fun artwork on here. We got Tri-Klops on one side of the box, and if we rotate around to the opposite side, we've got Stratos here, Sean Connery style. I don't know, it wasn't actually Sean Connery, but that's how he talked in that show. So let's go ahead and pop this thing open just so you guys get the full like little unboxing experience here. Look at that, by the power of Grayskull. And as we open this up, there's just this very cool graphic on the inside of He-Man calling on the power of Grayskull. And then all this confetti paper. Man, Mattel loves their confetti paper on this stuff. So we do have this little postcard on the inside that says, by the power of Grayskull, 2000X is joining the Origins Cartoon Collection based on the 2002 to 2004 He-Man and the Masters of the Universe TV series. So pretty cool stuff. And then underneath all of this confetti that is going to make a massive mess in here are 4 action figures from this first wave. So let me get all these pulled out of the box so we can get a closer look at them. So here we go, our brand new 2000X era He-Man, Tri-Klops, Stratos, and Beast Man outside of that mailer box. As you can see, still part of the cartoon collection, but we do have brand new card backs that sort of has that like upwards look at Castle Grayskull. It's supposed to be the 2000X era of Castle Grayskull. Like on that mailer box, we do have the logo at the top that is reminiscent of the MYP cartoon series. I am going to nitpick the cartoon collection logo on there though, because why is it still the Filmation logo? Like, why is it still Filmation inspired? I get that that's what you chose for the cartoon collection, but it really clashes with the aesthetic of these packages. You guys should have MYP'd that too. I think it would have been totally acceptable. Like, people wouldn't be confused when they're walking in the stores and they're like, oh, this must be different because the logo's different colors. Like, I don't know, it would have looked a lot better if you guys actually did the MYP aesthetic on Cartoon Collection as well. So the back of the packages all do feature some beautiful artwork, just like we've come to expect from the Origins and Cartoon Collection lines. You can see the back of He-Man's packaging has got He-Man with the Sorceress, Battle Cat, and Orko in the background there. Oh, Tri-Klops packaging is amazing. Look, it's the slime pit monster. This monster guy was in the series, of course. Skeletor created an army of them, and there is Cyclone and He-Man up there doing battle against them. Real fun stuff. Also worth noting, as seen on Skywars. So just like with the other Cartoon Collection figures, they are calling out specific episodes for each of these figures. So the back of Stratos's has the war against the Adrenids there, so you can see Buzz-Off and some of the other Adrenids doing battle. Skeletor looming in the background. You know, he wants to see some fighting, of course, between these what should be 2 allies. It's worth noting that the Beast Man packaging is a window box because Beast Man is one of the deluxe figures in the line. So he's not part of the standard carded figures. He's a deluxe figure since he is bigger. Rotating that around to the side of the box, you can see he actually gets some really nice artwork on the spine, and then still has great artwork on the back. I love that it's very animation inspired because of the way that face looks there. And you can see He-Man on Battle Cat, and you can see some shadow beasts in the background there. Real fun stuff. Ram Man is going to be our other deluxe figure in the next wave. Again, look, close up of his face on the other spine. So the packaging is really nice on these guys. So before we move forward with opening up the figures and getting closer look at them, I do want to kind of give a little bit of background. If you're new to this, or if you weren't collecting during the early 2000s, you might wonder why is this called 2000X? Like a Mattel has even adopted that as the title of this particular era now, but that's a title that was made up by us, the fans. The series started with a line of action figures sculpted by Four Horsemen design for Mattel. It was meant to be a relaunch of this brand for kind of a newer generation. And those figures, of course, were made to be very detailed, really cool, updated new looks for these classic characters. And then by 2003, the Mike Young Productions animated series that goes along with those figures rolled out. Of course, those looks were simplified for the animation. So the 2002-2003 starting era of this line is kind of why the X was placed in there. It just refers to early 2000s He-Man. And of course, these figures aren't based on those Four Horsemen sculpted figures that Mattel originally did. These, for the first time, are figures based on the animation. So these are supposed to look more like how they looked in that Mike Young Productions animated series. So with all that out of the way, a little bit of history lesson, let's dive into the figures. Okay, we got our figures opened up, but before we really start looking at the action figures, I want to mention that there are no mini comics packaged with these figures. Now, Beast Man did come packaged with this piece of cardboard with artwork on it that has a bio for Beast Man on the back, but none of the other figures came with this, and we got no mini comics with this wave. So it looks like mini comics might have gotten the axe. And since we're talking about that right now, I do also want to mention that all of these figures only come with one accessory. Filmation's cartoon collection, one of the constant complaints that I had was that each figure only came with one weapon, but they did all also come with like a Filmation artifact of some sorts. So basically every figure got like 2 accessories. We are now down to 1 accessory per figure. So for example, He-Man comes with the Sword of Power, but he does not have the shield or the battle axe. No shield, no axe, just a Sword of Power. No mini comic. The basic figures retail for $19.99. The deluxe figures like Beast Man retail for $24.99. So it looks like the prices are still the same as what they have been, but we're losing stuff. No more mini comics, only 1 accessory per figure. It's just like, I feel like we're only going to keep trending this direction, unfortunately. Okay, the other thing we got to talk about with He-Man right away is his scale, because even straight out of the box, he looks quite a bit taller and more slender than a standard Masters of the Universe Origins figure. In fact, when we saw these in person at Comic-Con, they were like bigger. They looked bigger in the case, and Mattel even said at the time that these are straight up 6-inch action figures, and they even called them like Cartoon Collection 2.0, the spiritual successor to Cartoon Collection. Like, those were words that they were using because the style has changed. So I want to bring in our Filmation Cartoon Collection He-Man, and we're gonna bring in just the regular old MOTU Origins He-Man. We're gonna have ourselves a bit of a scale comparison right here at the beginning of the video so you guys know what you're getting with these. So the MOTU Origins He-Man that launched way back in 2020, those are straight up 5.5. They're 5.5 inches tall, just like vintage Masters of the Universe. Now, Filmation Cartoon Collection did slender them up a little bit. The legs are straighter, so they stood taller. So you can see that he's pushing 6 inches tall. This new He-Man here is only a little bit taller than Filmation He-Man. Like, looking at him side by side, you can see that they are still roughly the same height. He might push a little bit taller, but the entire build to his body is different. The legs are a lot thinner. You can see he's got bigger, and they tried to capture the animation, but the boots are bigger, the boots stand taller, the arms feel more slender, and they feel longer, like the arms feel really long on this figure. So you can see that we've really moved away from that 5.5 more squat muscular body that's based on the original toy line as we've grown into this new version of Cartoon Collection. And again, they're trying to capture the likeness of these characters from the 2000X MYP series, but it is quite a bit different looking at them all side by side. The other comparison I want to do is this right here, because we're no stranger to having 2000X influence in the Origins line. So this is one of the 2000X inspired He-Man figures that we got in the line. This is the one from that 4-pack, so that's why he's got the metallic weapons. But then, of course, we also got like the snake armor He-Man here. So while we have had some 2000X influence already in these modern lines, I do think this does a good job to demonstrate just how these new animated versions stand out from what we have had previously. We do have all new parts here. So here's our He-Man that we've been looking at this whole time. I really do feel like the arms feel so long on this figure. I don't know. Like, they're going down to like the middle of the thighs, which is where they should be, but something about them does feel just really long. He's so much more slender and standing more upright than we've had for a lot of these figures. But it's still really nice. You can see the details, like he's got the pouch on the front of the loincloth. That's a very early 2000s thing. It was present in the series on that 2002 figure. Same with the harness that's got sort of like that asterisk kind of logo for him that was prominent during that era. I really do think the paint looks good on this guy. It's solid all the way through. The head sculpt is pretty decent. That hair is really poofy. He's got that, well, they kind of like that flared hair. They were really going for like an anime vibe with this series because it was popular in the early 2000s. One thing I'm going to say about, and it's going to be across the board with all these figures, but I think especially with He-Man here, I don't think this is a bad looking He-Man per se. I also don't think it's perfectly capturing the likeness from the animated series. Even with the Filmation Cartoon Collection figures, they were not one-to-one with the animation. So they're almost more like inspired by the animation. Like, you can definitely see it here. We also got to talk about the power sword. Now you can see it sheathed on his back right here. It is just kind of molded in like a slightly shiny silver. It does not open up, and I am really bummed out by that because even in the animated series, the sword opened up when he transformed. So I really feel like they should have added that instead of having one solid sword here. Now, this is different from the versions of the sword we've had from Origins. He-Man does not want to stand up. So over here on the right, the smaller version here is the one that has come with our Origins 2000X He-Man figures, like Snake Armor He-Man, like the other 2000X He-Man. So you can see that it's quite a bit bigger on this new one. It's also less detailed. They kind of took away the circuitry in the blade there. This one is definitely more inspired by the 2002 toy. So they kind of smoothed it out, I guess, to make it look more like the animation there. But yeah, we have no added paint details, and I really do wish that that sword would have opened up. I think that's something that it definitely should have done. So let's go over the articulation here on this particular figure. It's still what you would expect from like an Origins style figure. You got a ball joint there for the head. The arms still go outwards, forwards, backwards. Swivel at the elbow, bend at the elbow, swivel at the wrist, hinge at the wrist. They even on the right hand put the hinge on top of the wrist so we can get a holding the sword aloft pose, which is nice. Swivel at the waist. You got the hinge like ball joints at the thighs, so the legs can go outwards, move forwards, backwards, swivel at the knee, bend at the knee, swivel at the boot cut, and then the ankles can move forwards, backwards, and they can rock side to side. So honestly, you've got some really nice articulation here. It feels solid on this guy. Here, look at this. We'll get our sword aloft pose. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. I like that quite a bit. That looks really, really good. So very cool stuff. Now look, I know that he didn't use the axe or the shield often in that series, but they were there. I really wish he would have gotten those extra accessories here. But, you know, solid feeling figure. Worth noting, Still interchangeable with Origins. It's the exact same modular build. So even if he's a little more slender, standing a little bit taller, it's still the same modular build so that you can mix and match parts with this guy. Next up, I want to take a look at Stratos here. Now, there's something very specific I wanted to show you guys because the wings are not on the figure in the package. You do need to assemble those yourself. So I put this one on already, but I want to show you guys what you have to do is this will actually slide on the wrist. And in order to do that, you are going to want to pull the hand out of socket. So like I said, same modular bodies as what we've had before. If you've had anything from this line, you know what you're doing there already. So we are going to take this little wrist bracer here. We're going to put it over the forearm and then we'll plug the hand back in place. And then he's got a handle that you can get the hand to grip onto for his little jetpack wings there. And now we've got a Stratos with his wings. So he's really nice looking. I like the look of this figure quite a bit. I think he does a good job of capturing the look of the character from the animated series. Because he's animated, he is not furry. You know, he usually has like sculpted feathery or furry arms and chest, and you can see all that there, but they totally smoothed him out, so he's got none of that fluff, none of those feathery, whatever it was, feathers, fur, I don't know, what does Stratos have? You know, the vintage toy used the Beast Man torso, but they totally smoothed him out. It does appear to be the same. That was used for He-Man, but he does have a new loincloth piece here. He's got a new harness piece here, of course, the new head. I think that head's a really pretty good animated representation of Stratos. He's got that longer jaw with the beard there. He does have the little jetpack, which looks a lot like the jetpack on the 2002 toy, but without the rocket-firing missiles on here, and there's no push button to make him flap his wings like that vintage one had. And then look at that. He's even got these crazy like boots, like the little shin guards there, that have the little rocket sticking off the back, because his wings was like a jetpack, which is pretty cool. And you can see he's got the bare feet there, so he actually has toes showing, which is pretty cool. Yep, so he just holds on to those handles while he's got the wings attached. The wings themselves are also articulated so they can swivel. They have hinge joints on there. I don't know, all in all, I like this Stratos. I think he's pretty cool looking. Yeah, look at that pose. He's a good representation of this character. Come on, He-Man, let's go. So now we get to look at our first bad guy in the series. We've got Tri-Klops here. Once again, he is sharing the same body as He-Man, though I do want to point out the wrist bracers are different. They are not the same. If I bring He-Man back over here, look at that. Like, they're styled different. So that is a really nice touch. Obviously, different skin tones, too. He-Man's got a little bit more color there. Tri-Klops is very pale. But we do have some new armor here. It looks like the shoulders are kind of built into the armor up here, so it sits over the shoulders. You could detach it here on the back, much like most of the figures in this line. New loincloth piece. He's got unique boots as well. So they are doing a lot of unique sculpting on these guys, which is really nice. Pretty decent head sculpt there. Like, they got I like the pointy nose and kind of the angry mouth there, which is pretty good. And of course, you can turn the eyes on there. They actually are a little harder to get going because they lock in place. So like when you get to the bridge of the nose, it actually locks in place. So you can see we've got like this orangish colored one. We've got a blue eye, and we've got a green eye. They're all just round, but you can switch those just like in the animated series. And we've got the classic Tri-Klops sword, all just molded in green plastic. Looks like a Tri-Klops sword. It's the same style you would expect him to have. I will say the grip on these figures is really nice, so that's pretty cool. I gotta point out these super weird knee pads. Like, what are these? These weird little things that are just like glued to his kneecaps? That's so strange. Is that the way he looked in the series? I know the toy is actually like got like the furry like behind these little knee pads over the kneecaps there. I don't know. They look weird. They're not removable. They're actually like glued onto the knees there. They're so strange looking. I don't know. I wish they would have given him a Doomseeker. If I'm going to complain about wanting more accessories again. Like the Doom Seekers were so important to Tri-Klops in this series. That would have been a really great pack-in. Just like in the old toy line, if we got a Doom Seeker with Tri-Klops, it would have plussed him up for sure. But yeah, he's totally fine. Okay, so that's gonna bring us to our Deluxe Beast Man. Now I am gonna bring in the tape measure here. So you can see this guy is pretty big. He's pushing 6.5 inches. It's mostly like the hunch of his back. But like, look, if I bring Tri-Klops in here, you can see we got a pretty good scale between these guys, which I like this a lot. Like that's one thing that the 2000X series did, is it made these characters different scales. They weren't all just the same size base body, right? Like you had bigger guys like Beast Man. So I like that we're getting that with this action figure here. And he is one that I feel like they did a really good job of capturing that animated look. Like, look at that face. He had a very distinct face in the animated series, and I love it. I love that weird kind of snarl he's got going on there with the one eye squinted, the other eye bulging open. I think he's pretty cool looking. He's got this kind of like dirty orange color to his fur. Once again, it's a smooth body, so there's no sculpted fur. They went for that smooth animation look with this guy. But he does have this great like fur over his shoulders with the spikes hanging off of it. These spikes are a bit gummy, I would assume for safety reasons. But this is a pretty great figure as far as the way he looks. Now, when I pulled this guy out of the box, I kind of felt something a little weird with him. And I don't know, like you can see, like look how bobbly he is. Like his torso joint isn't locking in as solid as I would like it to. In fact, look at that. Look how easy he comes apart. Like in the box, he was separated in the package. And he's just not like getting a real good lock. Like look how loose that is. He's not getting a good lock on that peg. He is so bobbly and he just falls apart, which is really unfortunate. Like the modular bodies are great on these, but I don't want that at the expense of the figure like not being a solid toy and falling apart. Like if this was for a kid to play with, he'd be falling apart every time they were playing. I hope this is not a widespread issue with Beast Man. I'm hoping it's just with mine. Like standing on a shelf, he's probably going to be fine. He does not feel like this. Does not feel like it's locking in place. It's like so gummy right there. It's really strange. So bit unfortunate on there. He's got a big upper body and his legs are a little bit thinner, so you might find some balance issues with him, but you just got to kind of find the right way to stand him. And then he comes with a whip. It's just molded in a kind of a curled shape. It's pliable, but it's not like soft or gummy or anything like that. So you can get it held in his hands. It kind of just lays there however you want it to. You can like, you know, pose it upwards like this. That actually looks pretty good. I don't know. He's a great looking figure and I love the size compared to the other ones. I'm just a little bummed out by that torso not like holding in place. Also a little top heavy. He's a little top heavy. All right, guys, we got to do it. It's comparison time. Look, they're based on the 2000X series, so I want to compare them with those original 2002 releases of these characters, but I once again need to point out that these in 2002 were meant to be much more detailed. These are based on the animation, which simplified these looks. So it's just really unique looking at these guys side by side. And like I said, this is the first time we've had toys based on the cartoon appearances of these versions of the characters. So here's our new cartoon collection Tri-Klops, standing alongside the 2002-2003 figure release. Look, you can really see when you look at these guys side by side, you can still see a lot of similarities. Like they definitely took these designs and then, you know, brought them into animation, simplified them a little bit. Oh, here's what I was talking about, the knee pads too, right? Like, look, he's got those little knee pads, but he's got like backings to them. It looks so weird the way they're just floating around on the new figure here. Come on, He-Man, it's Stratos time! Okay, we got our Stratoses compared there, so you can see these guys side by side. Obviously, they gimmicked a lot of the figures in the 2002 line, and Stratos had those weird flapping arms, so they can only flap outwards like that, which hindered posability and stuff. Posability was not a thing yet on the 2002 figures. How crazy is that? But I really do think this is a pretty good animated Stratos here. And lastly, we are comparing our 2002 He-Man to our brand new animated 2000X style He-Man. This is, I think, one of the more drastic differences, like looking at him super detailed in this line compared to the more simplistic look of the animation. Here's what I was talking about with the sword though. Like, as the sword on this one would open and close, and I do wish that would happen on the new one here, just because that was a common thing in the animated series during the transformation sequence. Now I sound like a broken record, but there you go. Just some fun comparisons with the releases that they are inspired by. And there you go, my friends. That is a look at the brand new 2000X cartoon collection, Wave 1, from Mattel. Very special thanks to Mattel again for sending these over so we can get a good look at them. These are technically spring 2026 figures, but I believe usually when something's spring the next year, that means they're going to start shipping November, December. So anytime now, if you've got these on pre-order, these are going to start showing up. These should also get a full retail release as well, I believe. Overall, I do like these quite a bit. I love that the 2000X era is getting so much attention again. Like, that was such an amazing era for us fans, for Masters of the Universe, and I still say we wouldn't have anything MOTU today if it weren't for the 2002 series. That's the series that really brought everything back and brought us fans together and kind of showed Mattel that we were hungry for more MOTU. So I love to see it. They're fun. I think you'll have a lot of fun with them. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time.